part of your visit is to go see the Verde Island Passage, a very, very significant sweet spot in the world. You know that it's very significant for marine shorefish biodiversity, and it is the center of the Coral Triangle. But there's a lot of activity there. There's industry, there's critical energy companies, livelihood. It's a lifeline for many Filipinos. Can they all coexist?
Well, that is the vision of how do we work together to protect the natural systems that are the source of, first of all, our existence. And everything else follows that. We have to have a place that is habitable. And this is a symbol, in a way, of the dilemma that we face globally. Human prosperity is dependent on taking care of nature. We've always taken from nature. But we're at a point right now, locally, regionally, nationally, globally, where we realize that we have to face up to the reality, that we have to strike the balance and take our mighty powers that we have to consume nature and turn it around to protect, and to find a way to work within the systems that make possible life on Earth, make our existence possible. And you think, where does air come from? I go back 500 years, nobody really knew. We know now. We have to protect those natural systems on the land and the sea that generate oxygen, capture carbon. The diversity of life here in the Philippines is exceptional, and diversity leads to stability, to provide the assets, the ingredients that make life possible. So I really applaud this country, the people here, the leadership, the actions that are being taken in the government to look around and say, we have the power and the authority to be leaders in protecting nature. It's a source of economic benefits, health benefits, security benefits. If we fail to take care of the natural systems that make air possible, to protect the waters, I mean, that's the source of everything.
How significant is the Verde Island Passage to the rest of the world?
In part, it's a symbol of hope. If we can find the balance here, we ought to be able to show how it can be done elsewhere in the world. But just looking at the value of the diversity, it's not just the fishes are there. It's pretty obvious. If you've been diving anywhere else in the world, as I have had the privilege of doing over many years, and you come here, it's astonishing. You say, this is so special. But it isn't just the fish. It's the corals. It's the sea stars and all of their relatives, the sponges, all of the diversity that make life on Earth what it is.
You've had over 7,000 dives. Is that right? Or it's
many more dives.
That was probably an old research that I had read.
Well, what it means is thousands of hours underwater, living underwater, in underwater laboratories, using dozens of different kinds of little submarines to go deep in the ocean. It's been a privilege to have that investment as a witness over a period of time. I can't go back and restore what's been lost, but we can learn from what we now know and try to anticipate the importance of this time to the future, what we can save now, that those in the future will say, thank you for really being proactive about not letting further losses take place.
You have seen the deep sea, the underwater world, but not many of us have. I mean, I have, as a former scuba diver, But the Philippines is made up of 82% water, if you count our exclusive economic zone.
Right.
The other 18 is land. There's a lot of things done already to protect our terrestrial sensitive areas. But the marine protected areas, for those who don't see it, how important is it? And what can communities, individuals do to participate in saving and protecting the sea?
The biggest problem, I think, facing protection of the earth, land and sea, but especially the ocean, is people don't know why they should care. Now, if you don't know, you can't care. And the ocean is still largely unexplored. Most of what we know has been in the areas where divers can go, and even that is relatively new in the history of humankind. I was privileged to be among the first people to use scuba. And over the years around the world, to catch glimpses of why we should care, who lives there, what do they do, and how do their lives affect mine, and how does my life affect theirs. This is that moment in time when knowledge is really coming into focus, with millions of divers who can tell you this part of the world, here in the Philippines, really is extraordinary as compared to elsewhere. But the ocean everywhere is extraordinary as compared to the diversity of life on land. Essentially, all of the major divisions of life, animals, are in the ocean. Only about half have representation on the land. And the deeper you go in the ocean, the less we know. But the more new discoveries we're finding, the opportunities to really explore. Here in the Philippines, globally, at a point in time when we need to know as never before, because Earth is changing. We've lost so much so fast. But right now, the best opportunity we'll ever have to take care of what remains and restore what we can. Globally, the goal is 30% of land and sea within the next 6 years by 2030. It's an ambitious but a worthy goal. And it's not really enough to safeguard Earth as a habitable planet, but it's an important milestone, especially considering that globally only about 15% of the land is protected and less than 3% of the ocean is highly or fully protected. There's an opportunity here in the Philippines where the diversity of life is so extraordinary to have a magnified impact on safeguarding the diversity of life by moving that trajectory, as some nations are going and even exceeding 30%, to do what can be done while there's still time before this time of decline overwhelms the time of recovery. We're at a crossroads, and it's really thrilling to be here in this country, see the actions that have been taken, that are on the horizon, to really safeguard this blue country. It's surrounded, as you point out, this is a country that's more ocean than land, and a country of greater opportunity than most to take action to safeguard those special attributes that underpin everything you care about, whether it's the economy or health, security, or life itself.
Today's forum, you met with different stakeholders. We've had the private sector, community organizations, and of course the government and other interest groups. Of course, in the center of it all is the Department of Environment and Natural Resources through Secretary Yulo.
Right.
How does the DENR go on maintaining this balancing act? What would be your advice, and what would be a good next step?
Calling on all of the stakeholders, as you say, those who have a vested interest, and who doesn't, in the health of the ocean, because the health of the ocean underpins the health of the land. It's where 97% of Earth's water is. It's ocean, drives the water cycle, drives the oxygen cycle, captures carbon dioxide. Through the diversity of life, holds the planet steady in ways that we did not understand when I was a child. But based on the knowledge and the wisdom of people who've lived in a place for a long time, of knowing how to balance our needs and our wants and our desires with the reality, we have to take care of the source, nature herself. And I see the wisdom in the Department of the Environment, of those agencies that are beginning really to understand, whether it's economic interests, security interests, or recreational interests, whatever it is, that it all comes back to taking care of what we've got and restoring what we've lost. Never before, we know, is never again. We've got the best chance right now. And concerning stakeholders, I'm going to have a chance while I'm here to visit with the stakeholders that are out there in the ocean, those who aren't at the table. We have to speak for them.
You're the voice.
I try.
Well, the Philippines has had an early start in community-based marine protected areas.
Right.
We've had some success stories to Bataha.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, exceptional people who have been there rave about, you must see this. It's one of the greatest treasures on the planet, and it's here in the Philippines.
That's right. And our president, Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., has put climate change mitigation and adaptation and all of these environmental concerns at the center of his economic policies. He has a quote that says that our economic progress cannot go without being hand in hand with our climate change policies. How important is it to have a government that supports the protection of biodiversity, of marine protected areas, and all protected areas as well?
I say bravo, President Marcos, for the ethic of caring. It's the right thing to do at the right time to do it. And you could say it's for economic interests, because it is. And you could say it's for environmental concerns, because it is. It's because of ethical concerns. Yeah, all these things. It's because of security concerns. We are now facing a real crisis in terms of a changing planet. It's obvious in storms of increased intensity and frequency. The temperature, no matter what anybody believes or thinks, it's getting warmer, and we know why. The creatures in the sea, whales, fish, on the land, elephants may understand the planet's changing. They don't know why. And even if they did, they wouldn't know what to do about it. They're really smart elephants, whales, and I know some pretty smart fish. But we are the ones who can take action. So I applaud leadership here in the Philippines. Thank you, President Marcos, for doing what you have the power to do, to move in the right place at the right time and inspire leadership in others all over the world. That is what will take us to a safe place in a universe that's pretty unfriendly. The right time, the right leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Earle. Dr. Earle, you are 88, and I say that with utmost respect and admiration. At 88, you're going to be scuba diving in a few days. We had a brief chat, and you said the work continues. It never stops.
Why not? Why should I stop when I can still breathe? So can you. You should dive back in.
I would love that. What else do you want to accomplish?
I hope that I can be around long enough to see this trajectory of planetary decline the air, the water, the fabric of life, the habitability of Earth itself, to stabilize. We have the power to do that, armed with knowledge, armed with the ability to respect the natural systems that make Earth habitable in the first place, to safeguard what remains and to restore what we can while there's still time. When you think that half of life on Earth, since I began exploring the ocean in the 1950s, fully half has been consumed, diverted, converted to purposes other than maintaining Earth as a life support system for all of life, including ourselves. Half the coral reefs, half the seagrass meadows, half of the land converted to agriculture, but no longer providing those life support systems that a healthy old-growth forest provides. I mean, we couldn't see it. We didn't know it. Now we do. Cause for hope, now that we know. That's our superpower. Coupled with the desire to take this moment in time and, while we still have time, give to our children and all those who follow a planet that is at least as good as we found it, and to reach that trajectory of tipping in the right direction, recovery, stabilization, a planet that works and is not declining but is recovering. That's what we really need. And I think we're getting there because of the actions that I see happening right here with leadership in the Philippines, leaders around the world coming together to make a secure planet, to safeguard life on Earth. That's what I hope I live to see.
That's great. You said you started your career in the 1950s. You did deep sea exploration, marine biology, scuba diving, when it was not only a male-dominated field, but it was uncharted. You achieved so much, Dr. Earle. What is your message to the young people, especially young women who are interested in pursuing the same path that you charted?
When I was chosen to be what they called an aquanaut, to live underwater, it was controversial at the time. There were no astronauts as women. 15 years later, the first woman astronaut took place, and it was said the success of those of us who were chosen to live underwater is a simulation in some ways for living in space, that helped provide assurance that it was okay for women as scientists, as engineers, that we could hold our own, if you will, in a field that had been and still is dominated largely by men. But the head of the program, who was asked to decide, should we or should we not have women living underwater? And he said, well, half the fish are female, half the whales, I guess we could put up with a few women, and whatever, they allowed us to go. And I think it was pretty obvious that it wasn't a handicap for sure, and that has been part of this era of recognition that we're all one species. And while there are certain things that you can do that I can't do, that anybody who's listening, you have powers that make you you. When people say, what can I do? I'm just one person. I ask, what have you got? Who are you? Those who say I can't do this for one reason or another, I hear it all the time. I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm the wrong gender, I speak the wrong language, my skin is the wrong color. I say, come on, what have you got? It makes you you. No two people are the same. Part of it is gender, part of it is history, part of it is language, but you've got something that nobody else has. What is it? Find it, use it. Do you sing? Do you have a way with math? Are you good with animals? Are you good with kids? Whatever it is, use your power. Everyone has it. It's just find it. Dust it off, polish it, make whatever it is that makes you you the best you that you can become. And don't let anyone steal your dreams. Don't be afraid to be the first. Just step up and be glad you're alive, because that is a miracle.
Thank you so much, Dr. Earle, her deepness. Thank you so much for giving hope and for making the Verde Island Passage one of the hope spots. And we really appreciate your presence here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to returning, and we're going to go diving.
Oh,
Right?
sure will. Thank you, Dr. Earle.
Thank you.